Happy Thursday, everyone. Good morning. It is Podcast Thursday. I'm very happy to be here. I am still reveling in the birthday week and still enjoying fudge and ice cream and cake and edible arrangements, and looking forward to the fun that I have coming up over the next few days. So if you didn't see or didn't hear, I turned 50 this week. So I am now on the downhill slide, I suppose. But yeah, turned 50 on Tuesday, so just 2 days ago. I feel absolutely no different than I did the day before I turned 50, so so far so good. Yeah. Well, today is going to be a little bit different. I haven't gotten really a whole lot done because we were at QuiltCon. So I wanted to talk a little bit about QuiltCon. I'll show some more of the pictures. I've done a little bit of a video snippet of the Quilt Suite scene, but I will show some more, kind of like my favorites kind of thing. And then we were in Wilmington on Saturday. We went to a great quilt shop. Went to Rocket Fizz, which is a candy. It's like a retro candy shop, but then it's also got like a lot of international candies. So like Australian licorices and British things like flake, and so kind of like all over the place, which is a lot of fun. But you can also go and get like the really old-fashioned, like they had the candy dots like on the paper and stuff, and you know, like nickel candy where you just grab a bunch, put them in a bag and pay for them that way. So I love that place. It was really good. And yeah, so I didn't get a whole lot of sewing done before we left. And really haven't had time to do very much other than we did the New York Beauty on Monday night. I'm trying to think of the days. So New York Beauty was on Monday night. We got back late Saturday night, not as late as Stephanie did, but back late Sunday night. New York Beauty on Monday night. Then Tuesday night was the birthday bash, 1,000 subscriber party. And oh, I will show, I did make that day as the thank you gift for making 1,000 subscribers. So this I will be sending to Janice, which I'm very excited about. And Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches donated a fat quarter, which was amazing, because when she said, I'll donate a fat quarter, I was thinking, like, you know, like a stack of 5 fat quarters or something. And it was a bundle of fabric from Moda. It was beautiful, purples and greens. I got to spend, Ingrid and I got to spend QuiltCon with Stephanie, and the more time I spend with Stephanie, just the more time I adore. And she's just as nice and humble and sweet and cute and hysterical as you guys would think she is. But that really meant a lot that she did that for celebrating getting to my 1,000 subscribers. So that was really cool. So that's pretty much all I've like accomplished quilting wise. I've worked some more on patterns, which is exciting, getting ready for our virtual retreat, which we'll be releasing on Friday, March 1st, which is where the M came from, March 1st. So tomorrow, first thing in the morning, hop on to Together We Sew with Stephanie Stitches. That's Stephanie's retreat company, and that's where the registration will be through. And you'll be able to register that. The day for the virtual retreat is a Sunday in June 23rd. It's Eastern time, so the hours that I'm going to give you. We're going to open it up for folks to come in and start introducing themselves and saying hi to everybody at 9:30, and we're going to kick off the actual patterns at 10, and then we'll wrap up again at 5 o'clock. So the same end time as our first virtual retreat, but we're going to start an hour later, give it a little bit more sleep in time for our West Coast friends, and then kind of, get everything packed in there in those hours. So that will be Friday. Ooh, it is really windy here right now. That'll be first thing Friday, and then Friday night is the 20,000 bash with Stephanie, which is very exciting. Can't wait for that. But the biggest thing I wanted to talk about is having gone to QuiltCon, and that was really, so earlier in in the middle of 2023, Ingrid and I went up to Pittsburgh for what was more a fiber festival. So there were classes, and there were some quilting classes, but the vendor floor was very focused on like crocheting and knitting. And there was some quilting things, like Create with Claudia was there. I got to meet Claudia. I fangirled about Claudia. That was a lot of fun. And then I got my favorite ever bag to carry things around, which was a rescued quilt. But there wasn't like a focus on quilting. So it wasn't focused towards my craft kind of thing. And there was no showroom, like show floor or anything like that for quilts or anything. So QuiltCon is really, well, okay, so I entered the Frederick Fair. That was definitely showing quilts and everything, but not, you guys know what I mean, like a focused quilt show, like all in those 4 days of fun. So it was the first time that I've been to something that big, especially that big. I don't really love crowds all that much. I used to go to a lot of concerts with Lauren and didn't used to have that big a problem with them, but post-pandemic, I'm kind of like over having all those many bodies in one place. I'm kind of like, oh, what's the next thing gonna be? So, not overly excited, and still feel a little bit twitchy if I'm around that many people and there's not like space to go anywhere. There wasn't a lot of spaces to sit down or anything. So, so I had a couple of misconceptions about what was going to happen, and within those misconceptions had very happy surprises in place of those misconceptions. So in my head, when everybody was saying, oh, you'll see the show and then you'll do the vendor floor, or you'll do the vendor floor and then see the show, whichever. In my head, vendor floor, I was thinking, and this is just an assumption, nobody ever said this, and I never really asked, I guess because it doesn't really matter, but in my head, the vendor floor was going to be vending, like heavy vending of gadgets towards people, like tools that you're going to want to use, the newest tools, the coolest gadgets, that kind of thing, like very salesman, like used car salesman action. I was very much looking forward to listening to people's spiels, and that is not. So Houston Quilt Market will very much be like that for like the industry folks, and I'm excited to get to go to that this year. QuiltCon and other big quilt shows are less that, where I was not at all disappointed because I was very happy with what it was instead, which was a lot of smaller shops, a lot of small shops that I recognized. So I got to see and talk to people that I really have followed and admired in the smaller, not as big as Missouri Star, not as big as Fat Quarter Shop, that kind of thing. So small, like the smaller groups of people that I've followed. It was very fun to be able to see them there and have like one-on-one interactions and see all of the different fabrics, all of the different patterns, which I'm having this mad love affair with patterns right now, getting different ideas for turning traditional things into FPP, where I think, it might be fun to do that. Not necessarily that it needs to be in FPP, but that it's fun to do in FPP. Like maybe maybe make it a little bit faster because it's an FPP. Like I'm accomplishing more steps through doing it FPP than I would if I was doing it traditionally, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of in my headspace right now. So it was very nice to see that, to walk around and be kind of immersed in all of the beautiful fabrics, all of the people, all of the folks putting in the hard work and doing all of this to provide for folks like you and me out there, purchasing their patterns, purchasing their fabrics. The fun used car salesman-y bit, there were a lot of machines to play with. So there were many long arms, Handy Quilter, Grace, Bernina, Juki, like everybody was there. Not just long arms, you know, like all the machines and everything was there. So there was a lot of opportunity to play. I'd never really played with I had never played with a long arm before. I got to check out what I thought I wanted, and now what I feel like I might be kind of leaning towards changed over those days. I thought I was gonna jump at the Moxie XL with the Pro Stitcher Lite, which is still a viable option, but then I also used the 19-inch Handy Quilter with its light version of I think it's Quilt Path, and I liked them both, but I thought the Handy Quilter was actually lighter, so a little bit easier to move, which I think over time, being in the computer, and you know, I'm sitting at my desk a lot, so carpal tunnel is an issue and a thing, and I can imagine as I'm using long arm that could potentially become a problem, and it being just that much less heavy could be a major factor over hours of using it. What I thought was fun is it was not as difficult to use as I was afraid it was going to be. And why I think that is because of culinary school, of the baking program that I went through, and having been doing cake decorating when I worked at Wegmans in the bakery, and you know, having to write on cakes and things like that. So you know, piping cakes and then doing the writing on cakes. It was holding the button, you know, holding the button and making that is the same movement that I do with a pastry bag. So it wasn't as scary or frustrating as I thought it was going to be. Now, obviously, once I get it here and things like, you know, things break or string breaks or whatever, you know, thread breaks, there will be frustrations. But I was concerned that of like how steep the learning curve it might be in getting comfortable with moving the machine. And I was very pleased to find out that kind of my past life makes this future me a lot easier. I was very excited about that. So the vendor floor was very, very much a happy change from what I thought it was going to be to what it actually was. I was very pleased with what it actually was and what we got to do. The biggest problem that I had physically being on the floor, both at the show and at the vendor portion of it, was the hard concrete, walking on the hard concrete. So this could be TMI, I've always been a big sweater. When I played sports, ever since I was a little kid, I get super hot. I'm hot all the time. I'm wearing a sweater right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm hot. I wish I wasn't wearing a sweater. I would rather walk around in basically a bikini all day and frighten all my neighborhood children than to wear clothes. My son is very much like that. We are hot all the time. It is never hotter. The thermostat is never higher than 66 degrees in the house. It drives my child crazy. I never wear a coat. I'm always overly hot. And so it was hot in there because of how many bodies there were. And the first day I had my hair up, which was smart, and I didn't have big socks on, which was smart. So I didn't get as overly heated the first day. The second day, I was like, oh, we're going to be walking around even more, and the floor is really bad. I'm going to wear compression socks. Well, if you know anything about compression socks, at least the ones I have, they're thicker and they're really hot. And then I had my hair down. And I, like a stuck pig, you all, I sweat through my t-shirt. It was horrendous. So I set myself up for failure on day 2, for sure. I will know for Quilt Market, don't do that. And layer, lots of layers. So I really it was already bad with having no carpeting down, and then I had my hair down, I was carrying a heavier bag, and I had huge socks on. I don't know. Maybe I was just trying to like sweat it out to lose weight. I don't know. But I was certainly sweating enough to lose weight. It was rather insane. And there were more people there on Friday than there were Thursday, so it was extra hot. Boy, oh boy. But I did find out, because I was talking about how I was upset that there was no carpeting down or anything on the ground to make it easier for everyone that was walking around. And a friend of mine goes to many, many trade shows for the business that she was doing, and was telling me that trade shows like this, and every genre, have started moving away from putting carpeting down because they weren't reusing the carpets, because so many people were walking on them and dropping things and all sort of stuff. So they were actually laying out the carpeting for whatever event they were having, and then they were throwing them all away. So it was just going into landfills. And so that's why a lot of especially the big places, aren't doing it anymore, which I'm on board for. I don't like the idea of having those things just used for one event, because it's less expensive to use them one event and not have to get them, professionally cleaned for the next event, blah, 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 all that stuff, less expensive. What I need someone out there in the world to do is figure out how to cost effectively create like rubberized or, recycled plastic bottles, because there's enough plastic out in the world, where they can be reusable, because they can be cleaned really easily, very cost effectively, and reused all the time. But it was intense walking around all those concrete floors without any kind of cushion between yourself and the floor. And I have great inserts, and it wasn't so bad the first day, but it's like cumulative. So by the second day, I think Melissa Feldhouse might have said, well, you look really tired. I was really tired because it was just really rough I played a lot of sports, and I was a catcher for a lot of seasons, and my knees are about twice as old as I am as far as they're concerned. And it was rough. So I can only imagine what it was like for other folks. And then the lack of seating and tables, even if it was just chairs, just to be able to take a load off for a little while. That part was disappointing. And then I'm not really sure what I was expecting about for a quilt show. In some ways, I was disappointed in the quilt show, and in some ways, I was very excited about the quilt show. And some of this might be controversial. So, but that's all right, because it's going to be Shannon's hot takes. It's going to be what it is. I love that there were community projects where we went from the back forward and not from the front backwards. And in the back rows, it was a community outreach project. And they all used the same color scape, all the same color. I love that idea. Did I want to see 4.5 rows of the same fabric used over and over again? No, I didn't want to. It was boring, and I was like, okay, let's go. I'm sorry. I'm very proud of the work that they did. It was beautiful stuff. Another thing I was a little bit kind of disappointed in was I was expecting at a modern quilt show there to be less pattern, like sold patterns used. Like there was a lot, I saw a lot of Lo and Behold patterns, which yay girl, go. A lot of patterns that I knew were other people's patterns. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more art quilts, more self-expression, more things done by the quilter themselves. So I think that bit was disappointing just because I had an expectation set, not disappointing in that the work wasn't good or that the quilts weren't beautiful. That is not what I'm saying. The stuff was gorgeous and people were doing great work. It did help me. I'm really hard on myself. I'm really, really hard on myself. And it did help me as I was looking at the things say, I deserve to be a part of this community, because I feel like as I've progressed over the past 3 years that, yeah, I'm doing good. Like I can imagine myself being in the presence of these people. I didn't feel so overawed. Now I hear that Houston is going to be different because the Japanese quilters, the things that they do with fabric, and I've seen pictures, but I can only imagine what it's like in person. It's another world. But for this, I just felt like, and I'm sorry if y'all think this sounds like conceited. It comforted me that I was like, oh, we're all really just busting our tails here, and we're doing well. We're doing really good. And I hoped that, you know, people who were just starting off were able to see where they are getting better and where they, you know, could do like their points a little bit better or something like that. I don't know. It just felt very like I was wrapped in the arms of my quilting ancestors and they were like, you're good, girl. You're where you're supposed to be. So that I thought was really cool. The other thing that I was really excited about, and I think this is where the hot take comes, is I love when artists use their platform to get conversations started. And I won't always agree with what the artist is saying. I may have some strong feelings about what the artist is saying, but that's the point. And so all of the quilts that were saying something about things that are happening in the world, I live for that. I love it. I want to see it every year. I love, because, well, aside from the people who were like, and if you, this is your point of view, okay, and everybody deserves their own point of view, but people to say, why can't quilters just quilt, I think is a bunch of hooey, because art has always been a form of civil disobedience. That's what art has always been about. And that should be from the most humblest of, you know, people with just a pencil and a piece of paper through insane works of from the artistry of music, of movies and music and all that sort of stuff. So I liked seeing that these artists are also using their platform to get the conversation going. And if it makes you feel something, if it makes you feel angry, or it makes you feel vindicated for how you feel, or if it makes you feel seen because somebody has said something that you have felt and you didn't think anybody else was feeling that, that's so exciting to me. It's so exciting to me. So did I show a lot of those quilts? No, I didn't show a lot of those quilts in my pictures because, to be honest, I don't always want to hear, you know, that people don't want to see that and stuff. So I didn't put them in there. I have them. I took the pictures because I wanted to see them and I was excited about bringing them home and showing my kids and having the conversations here about like what the people were saying, and having conversations with my teacher friends. And my dad was a teacher, and having the conversation with him. Loved all of that. But that's not necessarily something that I want to put on my channel to get people upset about or angry about or fighting with each other in the comment sections. That's not what this channel is here about. So I just didn't do it. It was a decision I made for my channel. Folks that did do it, I'm here for it, awesome. But for me to be able to go and stand in front of those quilts and read why the person made them and read what it meant to them, and then kind of take in how it made me feel, good or bad, and why, like what happened to me, like what happened to me in my existence to make me feel one way or the other, or feel nothing, was very cool. I'm aware, and I'm gonna start stopping to talk because I don't want to sound preachy or anything. It's just, I like to know that even in this arena, we're able to use our voices and start conversations and yeah, be able to be a part of that purpose of art. So I thought it was very cool, and I was very pleased to see that and be a part of that and feel all those feelings there in the middle of Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, so no more soapbox stuff. It was cool. There were definitely quilts that were pretty for the sake of being pretty, and they were gorgeous. And there was a lot of amazing work done, a lot of things that I was really like, oh, I want to do something like that. A lot of patterns that I wanted to get, a lot of ideas for, you know, like getting a long arm in the future, and what I think that will look like, and what my purpose for having a long arm for myself. So it was a pretty cool experience. I was very tired at the end. So I feel like I was kind of a grumpy Gus immediately following the show, the vendor floor and the quilt show. So I feel it was a little grumpy and kind of jaded in the way I was thinking about things, because I was so tired and kind of in pain. But now that I've had a couple of days to like think about it and go back and look at the pictures and kind of absorb it, I'm really happy that I went. I'm so excited that I got to go with Stephanie and Ingrid. The trip was so much fun. Having a girls trip is highly recommended. Having a boys trip, if you know, you're of that ilk as well, highly recommend hanging out with friends and just kind of stepping out of the real world and getting to just be silly with your crew. It was a lot of fun. So, okay, enough of the yammering. I've certainly talked enough. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for allowing me the platform to be a complete goofball. I will talk to you all very soon, and I will put those pictures throughout here today. So thank you all very much. Have an awesome Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow night on Stephanie's channel for 20,000 Bash. All right, everybody. Bye.